Jake is a 17-year-old kid living in Phoenix, Arizona, who plans an overnight trip with his friend into the Superstition Mountains, which are about an hour's drive east of Phoenix. The particular trail that they're taking is an 8-mile loop through a canyon. Pretty simple in and out overnight trip. However, his friend cancels at the last minute, leaving Jake on his own. But with his packed bag in the car ready to go, Jake decides to go on his own. He leaves the house late and has some trouble navigating through the forest roads, so he doesn't actually get to the trailhead until about 5:45, which for those of you who don't backpack, this is a very big no-no. He has about a 4-mile hike until he arrives at his planned camping spot, and it's getting dark fast. But he figures if he moves quick enough, he can at least get 2 or 3 miles in before he has to find a spot to set up camp. However, this strategy leaves him hiking a very dark trail on his own with about 15 miles of dirt road between him and anyone else. Hiking in the dark is super creepy, especially considering where Jake is and the fact that he's on his own. Eventually, it gets so dark, he can only see where his headlamp is pointing. And that's when he figures he needs to stop and get a camp set up. With his headlamp as his only light source and trying to move fast, he ends up in a less than ideal spot. But there are some burned pieces of wood and the remains of a fire circle, so it looks like people have been there before, just definitely not recently. Jake's first priority is to get a fire going. He scans the area around him and he finds some dry wood and gets the fire going. He gets his tarp set up, cracks open a can of chili mac for dinner, and he's feeling pretty good. His camp is set up, his food is on the fire. The feeling of uneasiness from the hike in has almost gone away, but it's still there just a little bit, kind of a side effect of camping alone in remote areas. Now, to fully understand what happens next, you need to know how his camp is set up. The site he picks is a small clearing surrounded by large pine trees, with the trail about 30 feet to his left. When you're in the woods and have a fire going, the fire casts a circle of light around it, and everything on the edge of that circle and past it is pitch black. Jake is sitting on the ground near his fire, eating his dinner, when a small rock lands on the ground next to him. He looks at the tiny rock in shock. He's sure he's the only person on the trail tonight. He immediately turns on his light and looks in the direction that the rock came from. But due to the density of the pines and the brush, he can only see about 10 feet. Jake spends the next 15 minutes freaking out as he scans the tree line that surrounds him, searching for whoever or whatever threw the rock, not daring to stray too far away from the fire that, in hindsight, is really a false sense of security. After sitting back down, still on high alert, after a few minutes, he's able to convince himself that somehow he actually kicked the rock himself, or it just fell from a tree or something. Jake goes to sleep that night, not knowing the pure terror he is about to experience. He wakes to the sound of rustling leaves, barely audible if you aren't listening for them, but they're there. Trying to shake off his sleepy haze, he listens harder as the rustling gets softer. Whoever's out there must be moving away. Jake goes to grab the flashlight that he set right next to him when he went to sleep. It's not there. The more he looks, the more scared he gets as he realizes it's gone. He stands up in his sleeping bag, ducks out of his tarp, and looks around. And there in the woods, not more than 15 feet away, is his flashlight lying on the ground in a pile of leaves. Jake's entire existence stops on a dime. The flashlight that he left sitting right next to him when he went to sleep just a couple of hours ago is now 15 feet away from him, past the tree line in the woods. He hurriedly slips his boots on with one hand, clutches his knife in his other hand while he keeps his head on a swivel. Jake weighs his options: stay there and wait out the night, or attempt a 3-mile hike back to the car in the dark. He figures that whoever is out there with him is definitely gonna have the advantage if he is out on the trail without a light. So he decides to stay at the camp and wait out the night there. Eventually, it comes back. He can hear walking through the woods. It's far off, but he can hear it. It sounds like somebody leisurely walks like they're on a stroll without a care in the world. Sometimes they walk too far and Jake loses the sound of the steps, but then an hour later, maybe 2, it returns, still faint as ever. This goes on for 3 or 4 hours until Jake hears the steps get closer and closer until they're about 7 or 8 feet from him. At this point, the fire's barely hanging on because he ran out of wood on his pile. So Jake's pretty much in total darkness. The footsteps stop and everything goes totally silent. Jake sits there, not moving a muscle, trying not to breathe too loud for 2 hours, clutching his knife in his hand and praying he won't hear anything else. He stays like that until the sun casts enough light that he can see that he is alone in his campsite. Jake throws his things together and speed walks the 3 miles back down the trail. He arrives at the empty dirt road where his car is parked and nearly sprints to it as he unlocks it, jumps in, drives, and doesn't stop until he's put at least 20 miles between him and that place. Eventually, he stops at a gas station in Apache Junction to buy a Red Bull, but mostly just to see or talk to another person. As Jake leaves the store, he sees a message written in the dust on the back window of his car. Sleep well.